Good evening. We are the group Hugot and this time we are going to have our group discussion. Before we start, I want to first introduce myself. I am Cariño. I will be the moderator for this evening. I want to introduce to you the members of the panel. My group members, from my left, Mr. Vincent Blas, Mr. Khevin Magpantay, Mr. Rico, Mr. Roland Atanante, Mr. Sigua, and Mr. Jemuel Manacsa. The problem question is, what measures can be done to keep our group from separating? Now I know that all of us is aware of the background of the problem. But for the sake of this group discussion, I want to ask Mr. Rico to please share to the group the background, the scenario behind our problem.
Here is the situation. We have one main group having two subgroups with two different ideas with one common goal.
Okay. Now, in order for us to solve this problem, we need to first know its nature. Okay. So what is the nature of the problem that which our group is believed to split? Okay. So I guess the first step that we need to know is the cause of the problem. So what do you think causes the problem?
I think the cause of the problem would be relationship conflict with each subgroup.
Okay.
Relationship conflict, I think, tackles about frustration, annoyance, and irritation to the other group. So if we have that kind of emotion toward the other group, I think the group is believed to separate.
Okay. Any other? Mr. Sigua?
I think aside from relationship conflict, task conflict is also causes the separation of the group.
Okay.
Wherein, since each individual is raised from different cultures, and that might result into opposing ideas, and by the opposing ideas, separation might happen.
Okay.
Also, in addition with that, the task conflict, I think process conflict is also a major problem, since this conflict involves the process itself, like task management and even task distribution, also the responsibilities of each members and even distribution of responsibilities. Under this is the principle or the idea of who should do what and what is his or her responsibility.
Okay. So basically, division of labor among individuals.
Yes.
Any other? Mr. Rico?
Also, in my opinion, status can cause a separation between a main group.
Okay.
There are some groups that doesn't have really a leader. So if there are no leader inside a group, there would be competition between the group, the members. There will be a superiority.
Okay. Any other? Mr. Manacsa?
As mentioned a while ago, there is a common goal for each group, for every group, for a single group. And there are disagreements of ideas. And because of this, there will be different approaches. One thinks this is right, one thinks this is wrong. And so there would be separation in the group.
So, any other causes of separation? So basically, the causes you've shared are relationship conflicts, task conflicts, process conflicts, and status conflicts. Now, what is the scope and limitations of the group in solving the problem? Okay. What will push us to compromise our side? For example, because in the group there are two subgroups. Am I right?
Yes.
So there's a difference in both ideologies. That's why there's a conflict. So what do you think will push us to compromise what we believe in?
Getting back to what I have said earlier regarding the relationship conflict, I think we can. The thing that will push us to compromise our side would be if our judgment will be based on annoyance, frustration, and irritation among the other group. Having that emotion, the group will believe to be split.
Okay. So if we are emotionally driven in everything in our decisions, we will split. Okay. Any other reasons?
For me, we will tend to compromise our side if our knowledge is limited only for the solution of one major solution. If our knowledge is not enough to solve, I think we can give way to them, and we should act as a support system to them.
Okay, so basically a backup plan.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Sigua, you were going to say something.
Since there is like what I've said earlier, there might be opposing ideas. Why not we listen to their ideas, and if they will be able to relay their idea in a well manner, and if they will have sufficient proofs to support their ideas, then might as well compromise our ideas.
Okay. So, basically, what Mr. Magpantay and Mr. Sigua said are symmetrical, or similar. So, we acknowledge the fact that their ideas might be better than us, and if that situation happens, we compromise our side. Okay, so that's understood. Now, how long can we stand our ground for what we believe in? Okay, so if given that we are going to compromise our sides, given those scenarios, how long should we fight, or should we stand for what we believe in? So this talks about the time.
Well, for me, as long as we know that our side is right and
Okay.
we base it not on our emotions, we are not emotionally driven,
Okay.
and I think we will stand on our ground more long.
And as long as we have enough knowledge, we know we can do it, we know it is possible, we know there is no time constraint, then we should fight for that. And if what will happen, if anything happen, we should accept the decision.
So, Rico.
I also think that time would be a factor in standing our own ground, in deciding about the right solution. If we only have a limited number of time to reach our goal, I think a group will be forced to
Submit to the other group.
yeah.
So, any other? Mr. Manacsa?
One factor is the goal. For me, as long as we are aligned to what our vision is, or to what our goal is, then we can stand for our side.
So basically, as long as we don't deviate from the goal that since the main group has one goal, as long as we don't deviate from it, we fight for what we believe in.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the effect of this problem? Okay. This splitting up into two subgroups. What is the effect of this problem to the main group and to each member?
Personally, I think in the individual side of the effect, stress could be a large factor, because there's a lot of tension when two groups are willing to separate because they do not want each other.
Okay.
So tension will become stress.
Tension specifically to whom?
Tension to individuals who are arguing.
Okay, to each member,
Each member.
individual. Okay.
For me, productivity is also an issue.
Okay.
Since, as Mr. Rico said, time may be a constraint, and having these conflicts, having this separation issue, we tend to deviate on the goal and focus on conflict itself.
In other words, we will be less productive.
Okay. So, less productivity. What more?
We might also acknowledge that there might be personal conflicts within the group, and if we will not be able to resolve that, that might deepen that personal conflict and might cause permanent separation.
So, it will not only be a problem for a certain matter, but it might cause a permanent dispute between each members. Okay. So, what might be done given this effect? So, all of you said that it can cause tension, stress, it can make us less productive, it can cause permanent disputes among individuals. What do you think can be done to manage and keep the group from falling apart? I think we should brainstorm for ideas, for solutions here. So whatever solution comes to your mind, just tell it to the group so that we may deliberate it. Mr. Atanante.
In the organization wherein I am a member, when a problem arises, we make a consensus building wherein we end up in a decision, in an agreement that favors all, the majority.
So, consensus building through a
Yes.
meeting,
Yes.
perhaps? Okay. Any other solutions? Mr. Rico?
In my opinion, I think there should be a proper meeting between the two subgroups. There should be a proper deliberation of ideas to think about which would fit
Okay.
for the problem. It is.
So, formal meeting with the other group?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Any other solutions?
I think another solution would be focusing on having a procedural step.
Procedural step.
Where in that procedural step, we're going to set the objective of what we're going to do. So anything that we can suggest, anything that we want to say is aligned with that objective.
Okay.
And I think that objective will lead us to our goal. By having a procedural step, we can identify what step are we in, and we can identify on what is the next for this step.
Okay. So maybe I need some clarification regarding your solution. So what exactly are the steps that comes with that procedural step process that you're suggesting?
Well, I think first is to have like what they said, a proper meeting wherein both groups are present.
Okay.
Then, like I've said earlier, define the objective for the goal. The next, I think it would be having to share the ideas
Okay.
for each group, and by that we can deliberate.
Okay.
I suggest that during the meeting, during the process itself, I think that we should need to be more professional.
Okay.
In a way that we don't need to, or we must not include personal problems, as it can be a cause of further conflicts that can result to a permanent separation, perhaps.
So I guess the professionalism aspect that you're suggesting should not be imposed, but should be inherent in every member. So I guess it should no longer be. It should be part of all the solutions that's been suggested. Any other solutions, Mr. Manacsa?
One possible solution that I suggest is that for the group to be more focused on the goal, and not to compare ideas of each member, but to be on the vision.
So, any other solutions? Someone want to add more?
I think
Okay. So basically, the solutions that you guys came up with, okay, that we have here are first consensus building. Okay, so Mr. Atanante said that we should make a decision that will favor all.
Yes.
Mr. Rico suggested a formal meeting with both groups present. Okay. So it's just like the procedural step that Mr. Blas suggested. We have a proper meeting, we define the objectives, share ideas, then deliberate.
Yes.
Okay. And in that point, do we decide what solution to what things to do in order to reach our goal in that meeting itself?
Yes.
Okay. And along with all these solutions, we must be professionals.
Yes.
We should set aside any personal conflicts. So regardless if we are annoyed with one of them, we set that aside.
Yes.
We focus on the goal, like what Mr. Manacsa said. I don't think we need any explanations or descriptions because I think it's understood. It's understood. Every solution that you mentioned has been okay. Now, given all these possible solutions, okay, so the main purpose of these solutions is to prevent the group from falling apart.
Yes.
Okay. One thing that we must have, okay, in order to test its effectivity, okay, the effectiveness of the solutions is to have guidelines. Okay. So these guidelines are the ones that we're going to follow. Okay. So in the aspect of time, do you think should the solutions be implemented as soon as possible, or should we maximize the time? Okay. Mr. Rico?
I think we should maximize our time
Okay.
in thinking or deciding about the solution. Taking such time will give us a chance to create a great solution in the problem.
But for me, I think time would be relative or it will be variable since if group members would decide to a solution instantly,
Okay.
we could save time. But if further conflicts would arise, so I think time would be prolonged and we would not be able to provide a concrete solution.
Okay. Any other suggestions?
So I think you're saying that we are going to depend on what we are going to on what groups are going to behave.
Yes.
But don't we think that an immediate solution could help us to achieve that goal? Because splitting into two groups, our groups is divided into two subgroups. So I think that splitting into two groups is very possible in a short time. So I think an immediate answer, an immediate solution
So yeah,
would suffice.
taking more time to decide would be helpful in this time since you're right.
Okay, so with regards to time, Mr. Rico suggested we should maximize the time in order to come up with better solutions. Mr. Blas said that our actions should be made immediately. Okay, and Mr. Magpantay suggested and said that it will be variable, time will be variable. So it will depend on what happens because in reality we are uncertain whether they will accept it or not. So I guess, do you have any more suggestions? No more? Okay. With regards to acceptability, do you think the solutions will be acceptable to the other group, the solutions that we've come up with?
They all are.
They all are acceptable.
Yes.
Yes, but it also depends on their perception on this solution since their knowledge may be different to us, their
Cultures.
cultures, experiences, so it's better to communicate with them.
Okay. But what do you think would the other group think of the solutions that we are trying to put in the table? What do you think would they say?
We will be able to present it in a clear way. We will be able to explain them what we have discussed as solutions. I think they will be persuaded that our solution is might be considered.
If it will have positive outcome,
Yes.
So, given that you think that it would be applicable, it would be acceptable, do you think it would be effective solving the problem? So we're not just tackling about what they'll think, but do you think in the problem itself, in recombining, rejoining the two subgroups, do you think the solutions that you've given would be effective? What do you think?
I think it's probably effective because as the solution that we have laid earlier, we have considered, I think, considered their opinion, considered the time, considered the actual feasibility of the solution itself. So I think it's effective.
So you're saying it's effective because it's a two-way perspective.
Yes, it's two-way perspective.
So we consider them, we consider ourselves. So
Yes.
we're equal.
Yes, yes.
Any other insights? Sir Atanante, would you like to say something?
Well, I think professionalism must be considered and they must be professional in accepting what our solution are. And yeah.
So basically,
I think
it's
to be effective, we should be professional first
okay.
for the solution to be effective.
Okay, so it boils down to professionalism.
Yes, yes.
So without professionalism, even though we have great solutions, professionalism is somewhat the greatest common factor that will make the whole thing effective.
Yes.
Okay, so it's dependent on professionalism. I don't think we have to. Do we still have to discuss about its feasibility? I think it's realistic enough.
It's possible, it's possible.
It's possible.
Everything's possible, right? Do you have other guidelines to suggest?
I think that's enough, and for them to acknowledge these solutions,
Okay.
these guidelines, I think it would be enough.
So I think these guidelines are. You think these guidelines are enough? So first time, what Mr. Rico suggested we should maximize. Mr. Blas suggested that we should have an immediate action, and Mr. Magpantay said that it's variable, so it will depend. Okay, so all the solutions are applicable, are acceptable, and they are all effective
Yes.
and it's feasible.
Yes.
Okay. So this part now becomes the most challenging of all this discussion that we're having, because in this part we are going to eliminate or combine ideas. So do you think we should eliminate or combine ideas? The solutions.
I think because the solutions are effective, acceptable, and feasible, I think we should combine all. Like, for example, let's focus on the procedural step. In procedural step, we can acknowledge all the solutions. First, we're going to have a formal meeting set by Mr. Rico. Having a formal meeting, then defining the objective, the goal, aligning to our goal. The next, having to share ideas, deliberate ideas, and from that we can build consensus, as what Mr. Atanante said. And to top it all, professionalism should be applied in that step.
Okay. So do you all agree with what Mr. Blas?
Yes, yes.
I agree with Mr. Blas, since contradiction of ideas are not possible, there are no contradiction between the possible solutions we suggest.
Okay.
They're on the same path.
Yeah.
So basically we choose to combine all.
Yes.
Now, given that solution that you come up with, we've come up with, do you think this particular solution, meet the guidelines that we've set? The time, acceptability, effectiveness?
Yes, it was mentioned earlier that time would not be a constraint, or it would be variable, or we will utilize, and acceptability is acceptable and it depends to them. Probability is plus effectiveness. It would be effective and it is possible enough. So I think that the solution would meet our guidelines.
Okay. So I think we've agreed with having that particular solution and it meets the guidelines.
Yes.
Okay. So has a conclusion arisen?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
Is that it? Okay. So basically, we have a procedural step wherein we should set the main goal through a formal meeting. Okay?
Yes.
And within that meeting, we deliberate ideas, we share ideas, and have a consensus that will favor all.
Yes.
Considering the cultures, the norms, the backgrounds of each individual.
Yes.
Okay. And time would be variable.
Yes.
Okay. So, I guess this solution, we are all in consensus of the solutions that we have come up with.
Yes.
Now, how are we going? What can we recommend to the other group, given that solution? What can we recommend to them?
I think we can recommend, if, for instance, we are going to mind if both groups or individual will follow this procedure. Why not recommend to us and to them? We're going to have a project charter, wherein a project charter is like a memorandum of agreement, wherein we're going to list all the people involved,
Okay.
and give them tasks. After giving them tasks, know their strengths, know their weaknesses, so we can adjust on what tasks they could have. And apart from that, if an individual will not follow the agreed solution or project, we can have like sanction or consequences for that individual or even if to the other subgroup.
Okay, I just need to get something clear. The project charter, should it be implemented after after both groups have agreed with the solution that we are proposing, or within or before?
I think after our solution is being proposed, because there's still a need for them to
Agree. Okay.
So,
So basically, we acknowledge the possibility that it might still not be effective.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we don't control them.
Yes.
Okay, we acknowledge that fact. So if they agree, we have a project charter. Okay, we distribute the tasks in order to reach the goal, and if someone will deviate, okay, will not follow, will not submit, there will be a consequence.
Yes.
So, do you think, okay, for the last question, do you think this is it? This solution is enough to recommend to the other group?
Yes.
I think we should give it a try.
We should give it a
first.
try. Okay.
Yes, because it would be difficult for us to assume that this is it.
Okay.
This is the solution. So upon the decision process, the process itself, we tend to plan or we tend to decide
Okay.
through the process, not fixed decision right here, but at least we have a base on what we should do.
Okay. So, I think that sums it all up.
Yes.
I just want to wrap this all up by reiterating everything. So the causes are different: relationship, process, tasks, statuses. We will compromise our side if their ideas are better than us. Okay? But we will fight for what we believe in, as long as we think that ours are better than them. Okay? So the solutions that we come up with is have a procedural process by having a formal meeting. Okay? Focusing our goal, being professionals, setting aside all personal conflicts, personal disputes,
Yes.
and deliberating ideas, sharing ideas, deliberating, consolidating, okay, considering the backgrounds, the cultures, okay, and after that, have a consensus or a decision that will favor all.
Yes.
Once this happens, we will have a project charter, and after we've distributed the tasks, the responsibilities, those who will not follow, those who will not obey, those who will not submit, will face a consequence.
Yes.
Okay, so I think this sums up our group discussion. I think the solution that we've come up with may not be like what you said. We're not certain, okay, but we should give it a try.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess that sums up the group discussion. I want to thank you all. Thank you all for this.
Thank you.
That's all. That's all for our group discussion. Thank you. We're group Hugot ni Jem. Again, I'm Joel Cariño.
I'm Vincent Blas.
Khevin Magpantay.
Daniel Rico.
Roland Atanante.
John Christian Sigua.
Jemuel Manacsa.
And we're group
Hugot ni Jem.
Thank you.
very much.